right, a little midweek follow-up on the Royal Rumble and all of the outrage that was surrounded by that pay-per-view. I made a commentary about 20 minutes after Royal Rumble went off the air, voicing my disapproval for the pay-per-view. The video got a lot of really good response, and I even gained about 100 new YouTube subs from it. At first, I thought somebody might have put it up on a website or something because of all the feedback I got from it, but I have a feeling it was just because I was voicing my disapproval and I was on the side of just about every fan out there, and I think putting the words "fuck Batista" in the title didn't hurt either. But now we've had a couple of days to digest this. Raw took place last night. There's going to be a SmackDown taping tonight, so there's going to be a lot of new information coming out about what we're looking at in the Elimination Chamber and all of the build-up and potential matches leading into WrestleMania. I'm going to get into a few of those scenarios here in this video. As far as Raw goes on Monday, how did we open the show? Triple H and Stephanie hit the ring, trying to play it off like they're all cool. They're smiling, they're joking, they're laughing. Daniel Bryan hits the ring and basically comes out there and says to Triple H and Stephanie, listen to these fucking people. You heard them last night. They shit all over your fucking pay-per-view, and they want me. Now, even though I was really disappointed in the Royal Rumble, overall, I think I still like the angle because, you know, how often in wrestling do you see a work shoot? Especially in today's wrestling, you know? So the fact that Daniel Bryan is being held back and the WWE doesn't want him to be the face of the company, in a way, that's actually really true. Especially when Triple H goes so far out of his way to insult Daniel Bryan, calling him a little hard worker, and he put forth a good little effort, and he calls him a midget, and he's just condescending and disrespectful as fuck to Daniel Bryan. So like I've said in the past, anytime Triple H and Stephanie are out there talking shit about Daniel Bryan, that is a good thing for Daniel Bryan fans. The fact that they're putting this in the storyline still makes me think that Daniel Bryan will have his day in the sun someday. I think that sometimes fans forget who the WWE is and forgets how they think. You have to understand, this is exactly what the WWE does. This is WrestleMania 30. They want all these big names. They want all these big money-making names coming into the company. You got Batista, you got Brock Lesnar, you got Randy Orton, you got John Cena. Those four names right there. And the great OVW class that they came out of, the WWE can do a lot of great things with those four guys leading into WrestleMania. But I still think there needs to be a place for Daniel Bryan. Now, I'm not willing to forgive the WWE for the Royal Rumble because what they did on Monday night. Daniel Bryan came out to the ring and said, I want a spot in that Elimination Chamber match. And for some reason, the WWE is making Randy Orton defend the title in the chamber against like 5 other opponents. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that they might do that, but if they do, I'm really curious to know how they're going to explain themselves, and how do they explain that to be fair to Randy Orton. Well, it looks like they didn't need an explanation. All they said is what they always say. It's best for business. So Randy Orton's got to put his title on the line against 5 opponents. The very first guy that came out to the ring was Daniel Bryan, and he wants in. So the WWE made the 6-man match. Daniel Bryan, John Cena, and the returning Sheamus, who returned in the Royal Rumble. I don't even think I mentioned his name in the last commentary, but it's going to be the 3 of those guys versus the Shield in a 6-man match, and the winning team, all 3 members, get into the Elimination Chamber. I would have actually preferred if they would have stretched this out and had the guys qualify one at a time, and maybe Daniel Bryan could have qualified for the Elimination Chamber the week before the Elimination Chamber, maybe on the go-home Raw. To me, that's the way to do it. That's the way to spark interest at the last minute for your pay-per-view. The final pay-per-view not being broadcast on the WWE network, that would just be such a great final segment for the go-home Raw to have Daniel Bryan qualify for the match. But what the fuck am I talking about? Who cares? Why am I complaining? He's in, right? That's all that matters. How did they get in? By fucking disqualification. Seriously? Now, I'm all for the Wyatt family versus the Shield. I think that's awesome the way the Wyatts came out there and sabotaged the match. We knew they would. We didn't see them all night long, so you knew after the statement that Bray Wyatt and the Wyatts made at the Royal Rumble, they have to appear on Monday Night Raw. They came out at the very last minute and attacked the baby faces, which made the Shield get disqualified, which pissed them off, and now we get what we've all wanted for a very, very long time. I don't know when this is going to happen. I'm going to assume they're going to book this match for the Elimination Chamber, and that's going to be the Wyatts versus the Shield. And this could be it for the Shield. I mean, you saw Roman Reigns' performance at the Royal Rumble. The fans like him, the WWE likes him, and he's going to be a big deal. So if you put the Shield in a match with the Wyatts, the Shield can pretty much put the Wyatts over. And after the statement they made at the Royal Rumble, I fully expect the Wyatts to beat the Shield, and maybe this can be either the beginning or the end of the Shield finally splitting up. The WWE is really starting to talk about how each one of them have different personalities. They're trying to make Ambrose out to be this crazy guy. Seth Rollins is more the good athlete. Roman Roman Reigns is just a big badass monster. So they're already trying to develop these guys' separate identities. So when they do split up, the fans will sort of know them a little bit. And I'm fine with that. The Shield had a great run, but it's time for them to break up, pass the torch on to the Wyatts, let them be the kick-ass three-man faction that just runs rampant all over the WWE, and have these three great wrestlers in the Shield be able to split up and start, building their own singles careers. So because of that disqualification, Daniel Bryan, Sheamus, and John Cena are now in the Elimination Chamber against Randy Orton. Two more guys are going to be named to the match. I don't think it's going to be Brock Lesnar and CM Punk. I would like it to be, because if Brock Lesnar is supposed to get a title shot, when's he going to get it? The Elimination Chamber match is next month, and then after that is WrestleMania. What's he going to do, get his title shot on Raw? I highly doubt that would happen. It would be awesome if it did. And how great was the teasing on Monday Night Raw? When Brock Lesnar came out to that ring with Randy Orton and Batista in the ring, I've wanted to see that confrontation for like 10 years. Don't get me wrong, I'm not happy that Batista won the Royal Rumble or anything like that, but that doesn't take away from the fact that I've always wanted to see Brock Lesnar versus Batista. And I think I'm in agreement with everybody else that says Brock Lesnar will kick his fucking ass. But something tells me Brock won't be in the Chamber match. They'll probably save his title shot for, I don't know, maybe after WrestleMania. Maybe he'll get it at Extreme Rules. But there's another guy holding out hope that I want to see win the WWE title at Extreme Rules, and we'll get to that in a minute. As far as some of the scenarios we're looking at right now going into Elimination Chamber, here's what I see happening. I don't think the WWE has necessarily made this right with the fans quite yet as regards to Daniel Bryan, because yes, he's in the Elimination Chamber. Yes, he's getting his title shot. But at the same time, judging where the storyline is going and how it started at SummerSlam and what we're looking at moving into WrestleMania 30, I would almost think that Randy Orton is going to survive yet another pay-per-view with the WWE title. Because when you think about how the WWE thinks and how they operate, you want your champion. The way he won it at SummerSlam, he really hasn't lost it since. I mean, he lost it for one night to Daniel Bryan, but basically, Randy Orton has been world champion ever since SummerSlam. So if you're going to have a big title change at the main event at WrestleMania, you want a champion who's been champion a long time. That way, when they drop the belt, it's a big deal. If Randy Orton goes into the Elimination Chamber match and loses to anybody, let's say Daniel Bryan, that completely takes the heat and the steam away from his run, and it's going to make the main event of WrestleMania a lot less meaningful. So Good Mike Work's early prediction in the Elimination Chamber is that Randy Orton is going to survive again, and he will go to WrestleMania to defend his WWE World Heavyweight title. Now, on the other side of that coin, there could also be the possibility that maybe, just maybe, the WWE will have Daniel Bryan win the title at Elimination Chamber. But here's something that's going to shock you. As much as I love Daniel Bryan, as much as I think the WWE fucked up the Royal Rumble, I almost think it's too late. I think that Daniel Bryan should just win the WWE title after WrestleMania. I think Daniel Bryan should have his moment sometime in the beginning of the summer, and he should run with the WWE title during those summer months, because I'm assuming Brock Lesnar, The Undertaker, anybody else big that's around for WrestleMania, and all these big title contenders are going to be gone by this point. So I almost think it's in Daniel Bryan's best interest just to wait until after WrestleMania to win the title, unless he was to win the title at WrestleMania. But how do you do that? WWE has already pigeonholed himself into a tight spot. They have to give Batista the title shot. That's what they have to do now. He won the Royal Rumble. There's no changing it. So if Randy Orton winds up retaining his title in the Elimination Chamber match, that means we're going to get Batista versus Randy Orton in the main event at WrestleMania. Raise your hand if you want to see that match. Let me see. Do I see any hands? Fuck no, I don't see any hands, because none of us want to see that match, but it very well may fucking happen. Another idea that I had, I've mentioned the comparison between WrestleMania 30 and WrestleMania 20 a number of times. What if Randy Orton is able to retain his title in the Elimination Chamber and goes on to WrestleMania to face Batista? And let's say Daniel Bryan loses or gets fucked over or screwed somehow in the Elimination Chamber match, maybe because of the Authority had something to do with it. Maybe they pulled some strings and he had to be the first entrant into the Elimination Chamber and he had to wrestle through the whole thing. Or whatever they decide to do to screw over John Cena, Sheamus, Daniel Bryan, anybody else in the match. I actually am kind of glancing at some notes now. It does look like Antonio Cesaro and Christian have actually made it into this match, and Randy Orton escapes with a victory. Maybe they could do a WrestleMania 20 style main event. I'm not a big fan of triple threat matches, especially in main events and especially in shows of this magnitude. But since Batista already guaranteed has to be one of the players in that main event, I think a triple threat match might actually be better. So what if you put champion Randy Orton defending the title against Batista and Daniel Bryan in a triple threat match at WrestleMania? Why not, right? Chris Benoit won the Royal Rumble, and Shawn Michaels was able to wiggle his way into the main event, so why can't Daniel Bryan do the same thing? And it would almost mirror the WrestleMania 20 main event. You've got a good, respected wrestler who's challenging for the WWE title against two superstar icons in the company. You have Randy Orton and Batista, these two big, bad superstars the WWE has always had a hard-on for, and they're both getting in the ring with little, tiny, respected Daniel Bryan. And Daniel Bryan comes out of the match with the title, and you've got 80,000 people screaming yes in the main event of WrestleMania. To me, this is the only scenario in which it would work for Daniel Bryan. I would not like to see Daniel Bryan win the title at Elimination Chamber and then have to defend the title at WrestleMania 30. That's not what I want, and trust me, that's not what you want either. I'm all for wanting Daniel Bryan to have his moment, but at this time, you might just need to be patient and wait for the right moment, because I don't think this is the right moment. And even though I was pretty pissed off at the WWE for the Royal Rumble finish and all of the results that happened on that pay-per-view, if Daniel Bryan does not win the title at the Elimination Chamber, I am not going to come up here and tear the WWE apart, because I think they just might be waiting to give Daniel Bryan a bigger moment sometime down the road. So I only have two choices, or two things really that I would like to see happen. And that is, number one, Daniel Bryan loses an Elimination Chamber and wiggles his way into the title match and makes it a triple threat at Mania and wins the title in the main event. Or he just goes on to WrestleMania to face somebody else and he ends up getting the title shot after the fact and maybe has a nice, long, lengthy run with the WWE title throughout the summer. And if that's the case, who's Daniel Bryan going to wrestle at WrestleMania? I have a feeling that the rumors might be true. And I mentioned it a couple of months ago in my 5-hour commentary when I did the projected WrestleMania card for Deluxe Man. I actually put Daniel Bryan's opponent as Sheamus, because haven't they wrestled a couple of times at WrestleMania before? And Sheamus has completely owned Daniel Bryan, so maybe this is a chance for Daniel Bryan to get some revenge. Maybe Sheamus turns heel at the Elimination Chamber, fucks over Daniel Bryan somehow, and that leads to their WrestleMania match. Because as it looks right now, if Randy Orton does in fact retain, we know he's got to face Batista, right? John Cena has been starting his feud with Bray Wyatt, and that match could very well happen at WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar, I don't know where his title shot is going to come into play, but a lot of people have been talking about Brock versus Undertaker. So if you have those big three matches, where does that leave Daniel Bryan? The only opponent I can think of even possible for him would be Sheamus. So really, I'm with all of you. I want to see Daniel Bryan win the title at WrestleMania 30. I think that's the right thing to do. He's obviously over. You know, there's a few things, you have to understand too about the WWE. They're a company. Even though I don't like what's happening to Daniel Bryan, I refuse to admit that the WWE is burying Daniel Bryan. I'm sorry. You guys don't have any clue what burying actually means. When you are a top 5 roster member in the company, you are not being buried. You have got an awesome job, you are being paid a ton of money, and you are highly visible. Just because you don't win the WWE title doesn't mean they're fucking throwing dirt on you. It's so crazy how the wrestling fans can go from one extreme to the next. They're not taking a shit on Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan is not losing matches in pre-shows. He's still out there every week in high-profile matches, involved with the Authority. The fans are going nuts for him, and he has great matches. That match with Bray Wyatt at the Royal Rumble was spectacular. Absolutely unbelievable match. Those guys work great together in the ring, and that was wonderful. To me, Daniel Bryan has the respect of wrestling fans all around the world, young and old, for the performances that he's able to put on in the ring. But you guys know the WWE, that's not all of it. They still like the 6'5", 275-pound muscle heads. That's the way Vince has always been, and that's the mentality of the WWE. They want guys that look like stars. Batista, Randy Orton, John Cena, The Rock, Brock Lesnar, they look like stars. Daniel Bryan is just a little guy, which the WWE constantly reminds us about. But I'm one of the few people that's actually capable of looking at the other side of the coin here. Daniel Bryan, we should be proud of him. Look where he came from. He wrestled on the independent level for 10 years before he got to the WWE. Usually guys like him do not succeed in the WWE. WWE prefers homegrown talent, guys that they build and make themselves, and they rarely push a guy from the outside. And the fact that Daniel Bryan has been able to come in there and win over the fans and his peers with his style of wrestling and his look and his character, I think is an unbelievable accomplishment for somebody like Daniel Bryan. So I don't want to hear anybody say that Daniel Bryan is being buried. Daniel Bryan is a millionaire who's a top 5 wrestler in the company and is married to a beautiful woman. Daniel Bryan has nothing to be pissed off about. He is having an amazing career, and I, for one, belt or no belt, am very proud of Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan's a victim of Triple H's shovel. I think Triple H is actually going to wind up putting Daniel Bryan over, so you might be eating your words. So before you freak out, I'm just saying, give it a little bit more time and don't be so quick to judge the WWE and saying that they're burying and shitting on Daniel Bryan. I think Daniel Bryan is being treated unfairly to a degree, yes. And I do think he should have been more involved in the Royal Rumble. I think he should have been in the Royal Rumble match. Because when you think about it, doesn't it piss you guys off? It sure as hell pissed me off when I see Daniel Bryan not being in the Royal Rumble, but El Torito is in the Royal Rumble. JBL comes in the Royal Rumble for 2 seconds. To me, it's just such a classic example of how stupid the WWE really can be sometimes. They thought it would be much funnier to put a little midget bull in the ring or a commentator in the ring than to have Daniel Bryan come out to the ring, win the Royal Rumble, and have the roof blow off that arena in Pittsburgh. They lost out on a huge moment and they missed a huge opportunity. But it's too late. You can't go back and change it now. All you can do is move forward. That's why I think some of those scenarios that I just laid out for WrestleMania and beyond might be better suited for Daniel Bryan. If Daniel Bryan does wind up winning the title at WrestleMania, then all of this is no big deal, because I would much rather see Daniel Bryan win the title at WrestleMania 30 than win it at Battleground or Night of Champions or on Raw or whenever else he lost some of his other title matches. To me, it'll be very much worth the wait to have Daniel Bryan win the title in this environment, at this atmosphere, at this show of WrestleMania 30. It would be an unbelievable moment. But there's still a lot to be decided, and I don't know if we're really going to know anything until the night after the Elimination Chamber. Because if I'm not mistaken, that is the night that the WWE Network launches, and I think the WWE is going to want to have a big-time Raw for that show. And if you have Randy Orton squeak out a victory in the Elimination Chamber somehow, and then you have some huge moment on Raw where Daniel Bryan gets into the main event or something like that at WrestleMania 30, I think that could be a really big deal. So I'm just going to hope that things get better from here. There's no sense in wallowing in your misery from the Royal Rumble. You have got to move on. You've got to move forward and just hope that this shit gets better. Now, normally I would say the WWE is not stupid and they're going to make it better. But the reason I'm not sure of that Daniel Bryan WrestleMania 30 scenario where he challenges for the WWE title in the triple threat match is even going to happen, because as we saw last year, I was extremely vocal. I said the WWE cannot go through with just a plain old John Cena versus The Rock match. They have to do more with it. They have to put a twist on it. Maybe John Cena can turn heel, or maybe something can happen that will make it a memorable main event at WrestleMania and something that we'll never forget. But nope, the WWE went on with their original plans that they had on paper for 3.5 years, and they did the handshake and the hug and the show of respect, and the fans took a shit on it. I would like to think they learned their lesson. I think the WWE is going to be very sorry if they just go with the match, Batista versus Randy Orton, the main event, the final match at WrestleMania 30, and Batista gives Randy Orton the Batista bomb and pins him. They're going to shit all over Batista worse than they did at the Royal Rumble. Now, this would all be fine if Batista was a heel, but they're trying to make him a babyface. And I wouldn't even be surprised. The fans are going to have a hard time cheering Batista, especially with the popularity of Daniel Bryan, so it would probably be in the WWE's best interest to turn Batista heel in the very near future. I would love to see some sort of like big, huge conspiracy with Randy Orton and Batista and the Outlaws and Shawn Michaels and all of Triple H's past friends. I would like to see them all in the long run really be on his side, and they're all, it's all kind of a conspiracy. To me, I would love that. I would love if Batista was brought back by the authority to help them accomplish their goals, and he's just disguising himself as a babyface until he turns heel. To me, that would be pretty awesome. And of course, we're all looking forward to a Brock Lesnar confrontation with anybody, whether he wrestles Randy Orton, whether he wrestles Batista. Either one of those matches I would love to see. And you would almost think it has to happen. You can't have all of those guys there at once for the first time in history and not do anything with them. You got to have some sort of, matchups here. So there's no telling what could happen. There might not be room for Daniel Bryan right now, but maybe there'll be room for him in the future. But, who knows? I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. But I think the Daniel Bryan scenario at WrestleMania would probably make the most sense. Just put him in the ring with Batista and Randy Orton, and you will have 100%. You hear me? 100% of your audience at WrestleMania cheering that man. And instead of last year, where everybody booed the shit out of the main event, maybe this year you will have the biggest ovation in WrestleMania history. Imagine that sight. Imagine all those people yesing in the main event. I don't want to see them yesing in the third match. I want to see them yesing in the main fucking event. That would be unbelievable. But time will tell if that actually happens. All we can do now is hope. Between now and then, it's up to us to change the WWE's mind. The fans are the ones that need to keep yesing. Yes, as hard as you fucking can. Buy as much Daniel Bryan merchandise as you can, and don't buy any of anybody else's. You haven't got a goat face t-shirt yet? Fucking buy one. Because the more merchandise Daniel Bryan sells, the more merchandise they will make for him. Next thing you know, he'll have another t-shirt and another one and another one. So it's really up to all of us to convince the WWE that, hey, motherfuckers, this is who we want to see. You gotta strike while the iron's hot. Daniel Bryan is about as popular as he's ever going to get. Can you get more popular than this? I don't think you can. So if the WWE waits too long, Daniel Bryan might lose all of his steam. So you gotta fucking do this while the iron's hot. If you have to change your plans for WrestleMania, guess what, WWE? You're just gonna fucking have to change your plans for WrestleMania. You're worried that that might hurt Batista's feelings? Too fucking bad. Batista is a big boy and he can get the fuck over it. Now, I'm really not going to talk about anything else we saw on Raw. You guys saw the same show that I did. It really wasn't that great of a show. And really, the only major news coming out of that is Daniel Bryan is going to be in the Elimination Chamber and challenging for the WWE title. But I do want to talk about a rumor. The Sting rumors are back, and I've got some opinions on this. There are now a few of the internet stories coming out that Sting may have signed with the WWE, or there may be a deal in place. Now, I'm not one to talk about the dirt sheets or defend the dirt sheets or anything like that, but I think there's a time and place for calling the dirt sheets out on their bullshit, and there's a time not to. And what I hate about the dirt sheets is when they report so much nonsense. They report shit that I don't even consider news. You know, they have to make a whole news story about a tweet that a wrestler sent out. To me, that's not news. That's a fucking tweet. Who fucking cares what he's saying? So a lot of the shit that the dirt sheets do and the internet websites infuriate me just as bad as anybody else. But when it comes to this Sting shit, I don't want to hear any of this, oh, they just say this every year. We've been going through this forever. It's all bullshit. I don't think that it is. Here's why. Number one, I never remember hearing the dirt sheets or internet websites in previous years saying that Sting has signed with the WWE. It was all just teasing. It was all just maybe. You know, the WWE's contacted him. He's thinking about it. They're negotiating. And he ultimately winds up staying in TNA. However, I think this year is a lot different. And the internet websites told us Hogan was coming. The internet websites told us Warrior was coming, and they both did. Well, Hogan hasn't arrived yet, but you know he's going to. And as it relates to Sting, so much is different this year. First of all, Sting's an old man. Sting has got an amazing legacy, and there's really, TNA is dying. Have you guys seen the fucking pictures of these high school gyms that these motherfuckers are running shows in? I'm going to have more people at my Super Bowl party than TNA is going to have for any house show or any pay-per-view, okay? They suck. Sting needs to do what's best for him, what's best for his legacy, and guess what? The WWE owns 99% of his footage. They own it all. Everything that Sting has ever done in professional wrestling, aside from TNA, the WWE owns it. TNA Hall of Fame, get the fuck out of here. What can they show? What kind of video package can they do? What can they talk about? They don't have any affiliations whatsoever to the wrestling organizations that Sting has wrestled for in the past. I don't see any reason for Sting to try to wrestle a full-time schedule and be involved in anything at all with TNA. I think Sting should tell Dixie Carter and TNA, thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for everything that you've done for me in the past. Thank you for all of my great years here in TNA and paying me so well and doing everything that TNA did for Sting. But when it's time to go, it's time to go. And Sting is such a huge legend. He is an icon in the business. He needs to be enshrined into the WWE's Hall of Fame under their umbrella and do a DVD on him where they can take a look back on his career and do the biography and the whole deal so fans, especially young fans, can really get an idea of what Sting's legacy was all about. That is what's best for Sting. And if it's coming down to money, I would almost guarantee that money made from the DVD, from the Hall of Fame induction, and from all of his work on the WWE Network, think about that. The WWE Network is about to launch next month. They are playing a ton of WCW footage. They have every single WCW pay-per-view ever on that network. Sting was a huge part of WCW. Huge. He can be a very valuable asset to the WWE for the purposes of the WWE Network. So much is different this year than previous years. This is why I'm for once going to believe the internet websites, and I truly believe that Sting is going to come in to the company. Now, what he's going to do, that's anybody's guess. I don't think Sting is going to go into the Hall of Fame. If he does sign with the WWE, I don't think his Hall of Fame year is this year, because this year belongs to the Ultimate Warrior, and you can't have two headliners on the same show. I think next year Sting would be a perfect headliner for WrestleMania 31. But in the meantime, Sting can come in, he can do a few things, he can do a lot of work with the WWE Network, you know, talking about old WCW times and the Monday Night War show that they've got going on. He can get his DVD done, maybe even have a match or two in the WWE, and then next year he can go into the Hall of Fame. I think it needs to happen, and I think he needs to come in. Of course, there's always the Undertaker rumors. I love Sting. I love Sting just as much as any of you do, but I don't think he deserves to wrestle the Undertaker at WrestleMania. Yes, it would be a super clash of icon versus icon, but the Undertaker's WrestleMania match, I don't know, it needs to be with somebody that he's got some chemistry with, or their WWE feels confident they can put on a good match at WrestleMania against the Undertaker. The WWE doesn't know much about Sting. They don't know much about the 55-year-old Sting and how capable he is inside of the ring. I think an Undertaker versus Sting match would have been awesome, would have been one of the best matches of all time 15 years ago, but I don't think I would like to see it now. They missed their window, they missed their opportunity, and I just don't think Sting versus The Undertaker would make a lot of sense. I could be wrong, they could do it, it would definitely be a big matchup. I'm not saying it wouldn't, and I'm not saying I would hate to see it, I just don't think we're going to see it. But I do think we are going to see Sting in the WWE in the near future. It makes all the sense in the world, and it makes the most logical sense of anything out there in the wrestling business right now. There is nothing for Sting in TNA. Nothing. He's getting up there. His career is winding down. It should have wound down 10 years ago, but he's still in the ring. He's got to realize that he cannot wrestle forever, and if he is ever going to come to the WWE, this is the time to do it right now. So that is all I'm going to talk about right now. I just wanted to give a follow-up to the Royal Rumble and a few more thoughts on the Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania and the Daniel Bryan plans and everything that's been going on in the WWE in the last few days. And of course, I wanted to touch on the Sting rumors as well. So you guys have a great week, and I will be up here at the very least next Tuesday after Monday Night Raw. Until then, peace.